Let's talk mortgages. Do you have a mortgage? And if you do, did you have more than one choice of a mortgage loan? If you only had one, I have good news and bad news for you. The good news is that you're exactly like 77% of American consumers who only get one choice. The bad news is that it's costing you as much as $3,500. And why? Well, simply it's a painful process to be forced to fill in the same application at bank after bank or digital site after digital site. And you can use a broker, but the brokers have to go through the exact same process as you, sending out mortgage applications to each individual lender. So typically the result is, yes, a single choice. And the origination process for lenders takes weeks, even months, and costs as much as $20,000. Surely there's a way for lenders to get highly qualified deal flow without high costs, time delays, or massive marketing budgets. There is a better way. Post, connect, close. Getting a loan is that easy. Hi, I'm Chuck Allen. I'm the CEO of Connect. Connect has reinvented how mortgage lending gets done by removing friction from the lending process and making it faster and less expensive. Connect's vision is based on the premise of any mortgage, anywhere, anytime. And our one-to-one approach makes the loan process faster, less expensive, and more efficient. Connect intelligently matches and connects those needing loans with lenders by matching each borrower's specific need to each lender's specific lending criteria. Connect is a digital lead generation engine for lenders and provides them with increased deal flow, and not just deal flow, but deal flow that actually matches their specific lending criteria. And our automation of the deal analysis and matching process can save them as much as 60%. Brokers get improved transparency and more lender choices without actually having to work any harder, and can save money for their clients. And borrowers have actual borrowing choices and do actually save money. Our residential platform is live, and the platform works for every type of lending asset class and can be used for anywhere in the world. And the platform can be used for a variety of relationships, including direct to consumer. There are some obvious complexities and layers in the US marketplace that don't exist in Canada, but the fundamental premise is the same. A borrower wants to borrow, a mortgage professional wants to help, and a lender or investor wants to lend. You can see just how much larger the US mortgage sector is relative to Canada, and this translates into more opportunity for Connect. Mortgage lending in North America represents an over $2 billion addressable market, and Connect has already demonstrated strong traction with over 400 brokers and 50 lenders currently using our platform, and is delivering real value for lenders, brokers, and borrowers. Connect is paying clients and forecasts solid growth in 2021. We're operational in Canada and in the residential mortgage sector, and we're using that as our pilot program to determine what additional features are required before rolling out in the US. And by creating a solution that makes it easier to get a mortgage in Canada, we firmly believe that the solution is scalable and adaptable to the mortgage sector in the United States and for other asset classes as well. So what makes Connect different? Well, our two-way platform enables mortgage brokers to submit mortgage applications to multiple lenders simultaneously, one to many, rather than one at a time. And lenders actually get to choose the deals that make the most sense for them. We provide brokers and borrowers with real choices, and the one-to-many approach typically leads to more borrower loan options and a lower cost of borrowing. And Connect makes every deal available to every lender using the platform. So as long as the deal matches, they get to see it. We save time and money. We receive a combination of SaaS fees as well as success fees paid initially by lenders who benefit the most. And as we add more features, we'll start to charge brokers as well as borrowers. We're projecting revenues not just from the broker-lender subscriptions, but also from other sources, including the vast amount of high-quality data that we accumulate about the lending sector, and are able to make that available to lenders, brokers, and consumers to make more intelligent decisions and manage risk more effectively. How about some actual results? Over 270 deals and 200 million in deals posted in 12 months. Fastest deal, 2 minutes. Most offers, 13. And up to 2,500 in borrower savings. That just doesn't happen in the current system. And don't believe us? listen to our customers. Let me introduce you to our strong and experienced team, with Mike Vinay, Hamid, and myself taking lead roles, and all four of us are former CEOs of growing technology companies, all of whom have had successful exits. Connect is looking to raise up to $1 million to help us reach our goals. We want some of that for technology development so that we can continue to add features and functionalities, and the balance primarily for marketing and sales to help us to continue to add brokers and lenders to the platform and to expand into the United States. Thanks for your time and your interest in Connect.
All right, thanks, Chuck, and good deal with time. So great presentation. We're going to turn it over to the panelists for questions.
Dan, you want to start, or you want me to start?
You've got the force, so I'll let you keep it. Why don't you start?
All right. Chuck, nice presentation, good slides. I think it flows really well. Definitely grabbed my attention in the beginning with some of the statistics that you threw out about 77% and that type of thing. So I thought it was, I think you're just in general, I think the pitch flows really, really nicely. I noticed in the beginning you had Canada in there. And so the whole time until you got to the end, I'm like, what is going on with the Canadian spin? Is this just a Canadian only solution? And then at the end, you said you're going to roll this out. You're using Canada as kind of your beta, and then you're going to roll it out to the US. So I was a little confused there, and I was kind of asking that question as you went along. I think my biggest question is, and you put up the quadrant, but is competition. So I think everybody on this has heard about the 8 things I look for in a pitch, and it's almost impossible to get all of those 8 things in a 5-minute pitch. But the biggest thing for me, just knowing what Connect does, is competition. And you listed a bunch of competitors in that quadrant slide, but I didn't see LendingTree, which happens to be a 20-plus-year-old company here in Charlotte. And I'm just wondering if your competitors, you had about 10 or 12 on there, and LendingTree isn't there. And I can tell you, we've seen similar marketplaces come through PitchBreakfast or Charlotte Angel Fund in the last couple of years. So where I was scratching my head is, okay, where does this solution fit in the competitive marketplace, and how is it different? And I think the answer is the brokers. It's not a direct to consumer, it's direct to brokers to consumer. But I'd really like to further understand how that's different than a lot of the competitors that are out there. And I know you put that slide up, but it just concerns me a bit because I know this is a really, really crowded space. One other thing, your traction is great. I love that you have 400 brokers and 50 lenders. How does that translate to revenue? And you may have put it up there because you went really quick, but I'd love to know how much revenue you've generated to this point through your success fees as well as your SaaS fees. That would be good to understand. And yeah, I think that's it for now.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Chuck, let me just start out by saying you set the bar high for the rest of the presenters today by actually hitting it within the 5-minute window, which is not an easy thing to do. So good job with that. I've got several questions, and I just want to start out with I'll start with the same theme of what Rob was mentioning with LendingTree here, based here. Obviously, them not showing up in the competitive matrix. I'm still, I'm still struggling a little bit with where you're seeing yourself fit in that whole kind of lead gen landscape on the mortgage side. And I do think there's interesting opportunity. Just a little tidbit back many decades ago, and I'm dating myself here. Vic, you can't laugh because you're about my same age, so I'm not going to let you away with that one. But way back when we actually inside B of A created something called loans.com, which was going to be basically a loans marketplace to compete with LendingTree. So I know the space pretty well, and I do agree that most Americans find either a broker or a direct lender. Right, the fact that that's 77% of the people. I think you had a little phrase that I like, by the way. You said, if I captured it correctly, you had post, connect, and close. And I would have loved to have heard maybe a little bit more about what those meant. And I do like having a little tagline that you can, especially when you're doing a short pitch. I was equally confused by the Canadian thing up front. I understood it by the time we got to the end of the presentation, but it's sort of in the order that it hit. It was like, okay, is this going to be a Canadian only? It just raised a question the way it was presented. When it got to the business model, you were citing a whole bunch of revenue sources. I would probably focus a little bit more there. It's nice to have multiple revenue sources, but investors in particular are going to get really focused on where's the meat of the revenue going to be driving. And again, tying that back in, wonderful that you've actually got some early results with the 270 deals and the 400 brokers. But from an investor perspective, those numbers are interesting, but they really want that to be translated into how much revenue did that drive. And then the final point, and I should have actually started with this, because for any early stage investor, you're just like in real estate, it's location, location, location. In early stage companies, it's team, team, team. And you flashed up your team for about a millisecond. And so my only bit of coaching really is spend a little bit more on time on the team, because that's really going to be what matters most.
Hey, thanks very much for the comments. Appreciate it. We'll continue to improve. No question.
Chuck, if you want to answer any of those questions, you can. Otherwise, I've got some questions here from the audience that they put in the chat room.
Sure. Either way. I mean, let me just answer the question of the lending tree. We're well aware of lending tree. We chose to put up the Canadian competitive landscape primarily because that's where we're focusing right now. So that's why we didn't include anything for the American side. And I appreciate maybe it would have been made more sense if we introduced the fact earlier that we're operational in Canada right now and using this is the pilot program to be able to move out. But let me just also say that what we often see in the consumer models by a lot of the technology companies is that they're working with a small group of lenders, and it might be a small group in specific areas, but they end up pushing consumers into often still a single choice. It's an easier and faster process, but it still results in a single choice. The idea behind our platform of the one to many is to give lenders, to make sure that this goes out to multiple lenders, and at the same time for those lenders to be able to make offers back to the consumer, well, in this case to the broker, and that results in multiple offers, and that actually generates choices. And that's something that you don't see on most of the other technology companies that are providing even some type of system of trying to match you with the right lender. So that's one of the places where we see ourselves highly differentiating from many of the others.
So Chuck, my comment on that is that I think any investor is going to focus there because it's a hot space. It's obviously a process that can be automated through the use of technology. And there's a lot of companies that have tried and have been successful, like LendingTree, and some of that have failed. So considering that slide was Canadian only companies, I think you're going to have to figure out in a minute how to truly verbalize how to differentiate your business from the Canadian competitors, as well as you're moving into the US and how it's going to be different than your US competitors. Because as an investor, that would be the first thing I'm going to jump to is it's a really competitive landscape. How are you going to win?
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Awesome panelists. Thank you so much. And thank you, Chuck from Connect. So appreciate that. I'm going to take your slides down.